Welcome back to our channel, the place where hidden chapters, royal secrets, and the stories the palace won't publish finally come to light. Today we bring you a breaking news: Duchess Dark Secret, 30-year-old daughter outed, Prince Harry completely broken. For years online, forums, social media platforms, and sporadic media reports have propagated a comprehensive rumor regarding Meghan Markle's early infancy, challenging the accepted story. This enduring theory asserts a significant claim that the Duchess, prior to her acting career and marriage into the British royal family, had a teenage daughter who is now approximately 30 years old. The core accusation pertaining to a youthful union, premature childbirth, and subsequent obfuscation has persisted despite the absence of public evidence or any admission from the Duchess or her associates. The rumor has intensified with corroborative information that has substantiated it. A concise marriage in Las Vegas to an individual named Joe Giuliano, the birth of a daughter referred to as Noel according to various websites, a swift annulment of the marriage, and purportedly sealed court records have been detailed by supporters. The tale typically occurs during the Duchess's early youth, specifically in a gap year, or during travel between high school and university. Speculation indicates that the alleged events transpired during this transitional phase, when public documentation is limited by celebrity norms. To comprehend the enduring intrigue of this narrative, restate the established facts while emphasizing the temporal ambiguities that have incited debate. Biographical sources indicate that Meghan Markle completed her education at Immaculate Heart High School in Los Angeles in 1994. She obtained a double degree in theater and international studies from Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois in 2003. The public timeline markers of 1994 and 2003 are unequivocal. The disparity between the indicators is examined. The Duchess underwent significant personal development through travel and self-exploration, engaging with a variety of locations and experiences. Critics and online investigators have termed this period a lacuna, a phase of her life characterized by a scant public record according to contemporary norms. The rumor suggests that the absence of readily accessible pictures, trip documentation, contemporaneous peer testimonies, or other corroborative proof is dubious given her subsequent public notoriety. The rumor's narrative identifies the main events within the imagined absence, this missing year or gap. Reports circulating in specific online groups suggest that a teenage Meghan Markle purportedly developed a swift and significant bond with an individual named Joe Giuliano. These narratives claim that the connection intensified rapidly and concluded with a wedding ceremony in Las Vegas. The nature of the said ceremony is crucial to the rumor's advocates. It is characterized not as a grand ceremonial occasion, but rather as a subdued, understated event, similar to a courthouse or expedited Las Vegas Strip wedding, attended just by a limited number of immediate family witnesses. The juxtaposition of a modest, intimate vow exchange and the subsequent grand royal wedding at Windsor Castle is highlighted in these narratives as proof of a calculated effort to conceal or subsequently alter a prior phase of life. Subsequent to the purported marriage, the account proceeds to state that Meghan conceived and delivered allegedly in or around mid-1995. The name most commonly associated with this alleged child in online discussions is Noel. The timeline constructed by supporters is exact. They situate conception and birth firmly within the interval between her existence as a California high school student and her transition to a university freshman in Illinois. Should the birth have transpired in 1995, the now adult daughter would be nearing 30 years of age. Certain iterations of the narrative suggest an other birth year, 1999 for example. Yet these discrepancies in the alleged chronology, according to proponents, do not affect the fundamental assertion a child born from a clandestine early marriage. A crucial and recurring aspect of the story is the purported annulment of the marriage to Giuliano. According to the narrative presented by followers, the marriage was brief, and an annulment petition was filed within months post-ceremony. The aspect of the narrative that captivates its proponents is the assertion that the associated Las Vegas court papers were not only filed, but also sealed. In Nevada, the sealing of court records, especially those related to family law, is legally permissible, but hardly practiced. A judge evaluating an application to seal civil records typically need a compelling rationale, evident reasons that the detriment to private parties from public exposure significantly surpasses the public interest in transparency. Courts have occasionally authorized sealing to safeguard minors, avert the disclosure of material that could pose a risk of bodily harm, or preserve privacy regarding highly sensitive financial or medical information. Advocates of the rumor contend that conventional teenage marriages and their ensuing annulments seldom satisfy that criterion. Thus, they claim the sealing itself signifies that something exceptionally private or potentially detrimental was involved. Most frequently, they argue the presence of a child. The purported sealing of records plays a vital role in the conspiracy's operations. For those predisposed to accept the narrative, the unavailability of public court documents signifies not a mere absence of proof, but rather an intentional legal endeavor to conceal a vital truth. The sealed record serves as active evidence, a legal shadow that suggests a deliberate effort to conceal a sensitive reality. The potency of this element resides in its ability to reinterpret the lack of documentation. Rather than an innocent void, it is portrayed as a deliberate silence. It is crucial to emphasize that no publicly verifiable evidence of a sealed annulment has been presented. There is no judicial docket affirming this specific sequence of filings, no newly accessible records, and no official statement from Nevada courts or clerks has been provided to the public to substantiate the claim. When rumors reference sealed documents, they leverage a legitimate legal principle, but frequently misrepresent its commonality and the accessibility of obtaining such orders. In family courts throughout the United States, petitions to seal are occasionally granted. Nevertheless, judges often necessitate that parties balance significant privacy concerns with the public's common law right to see judicial proceedings. In the context of annulments or divorce, sealing may be considered appropriate where publication would result in provable harm, such as in circumstances of domestic abuse, the safety of a minor, or the exposing of sensitive personal information. Critics of the speculation assert that a standard annulment predicated on factors such as fraud, incompetence, or absence of consummation would not inherently fulfill those legal standards. Furthermore, the procedures for sealing differ by jurisdiction. A sealed file does not inherently obliterate all evidence of a proceeding from public databases or indexing services, nor does it preclude the retention of ancillary documentation such as newspaper notices, witness memories, or other administrative records. The assertion that an official sealing transpired, subsequently obliterating all documentary evidence, is regarded by most legal analysts as an improbable occurrence, lacking supporting evidence. The narrative transitions from legal strategies to familial arrangements in its latter phase. Proponents often claim that following the annulment, an arrangement typically characterized as informal and confidential was established in which the Giuliano family would rear the child. This arrangement is depicted in rumor accounts as deliberately non-legal. No formal adoption documents were submitted, the transfer was unofficial, and the intent of the arrangement was to enable Meghan Markle to pursue her ambitions, including relocation and education, without the obligations or public association of having a child. The Giuliano family, as per these accounts, embraced the position of discreet guardians, offering a stable private residence for the child, while deliberately eschewing any public connection to her biological mother. The family is frequently portrayed as conventional and discreet, a characterization that elucidates their willingness to take custody while opposing public scrutiny. The concept of informal caregiving agreements reflects prevalent human experiences as family members frequently engage in private concessions that do not result in formal court documentation. Foster placements, kinship care, and private adoptions occasionally transpire with limited public documentation, particularly in periods preceding digital record-keeping and when involved parties want to preserve confidentiality. Simultaneously, formal adoption laws and birth registration systems are established to provide legal clarity on parentage and custody. When a kid is raised from infancy by a different family, several administrative records generally follow this situation, including school enrollments, medical records, social services interactions, and potentially alterations in surname or guardianship documentation, contingent upon the decisions taken. The rumors claim that an entire early life might be conducted without leaving any verifiable documentation for thorough researchers, challenges the belief of doubters while appearing realistic to those who accept the possibility of organized secrecy. The theoretical, psychological, and social aspects of this phase are typically included into the rumor's overarching explanatory framework. The tale implies a deliberate concealment of a previous chapter as a tactical maneuver by a young woman determined to transform her identity. According to the thesis, Megan's subsequent admission to Northwestern University was not simply a continuation of her educational journey, but the initiation of a profound transformation of her identity. Allegedly arriving in Evanston as an unencumbered student, unmarried without children, and free to develop a professional persona, she purportedly constructed a new biography devoid of any lingering connections to the incidents in California and Nevada. The narrative presents this transformation as both practical and intentional, a choice to abandon a former existence to seek professional prospects, social advancement, and a new public identity. A lengthy cultural history exists of narratives that exalt reinvention. Biographical narratives often emphasize a significant departure from the past as essential for achievement, advancement, or creative transformation. In certain instances, the breaks are genuine. In others, they serve as rhetorical techniques that emphasize specific virtues, resilience, ambition, adaptability, while omitting complex details. The rumor exploits that cultural archetype, providing a theatrical rationale for a rather mundane sequence of life decisions. The notion that a young woman can choose to relinquish parental duties or facilitate another family in raising her child is morally complex and particularly compelling as gossip. It raises issues of mother instinct, societal aspiration, and the ethical limits of self-determination. Critics argue that the potential for such a choice to influence subsequent public assertions regarding authenticity and vulnerability generates a moral conflict that maintains a tension in the allegation. According to proponents of the rumor, the purported concealment of a first marriage and child is not an isolated incident. Instead, it is characterized as the initial indication of a more extensive pattern, termed a pattern of intentional distancing and selective disclosure throughout the Duchess's life. They cite her alienation from her paternal relatives, especially her father Thomas Markle Sr., and certain half-siblings, along with the termination of friendships from her pre-royal existence as corroborative factors in this interpretation. Within this paradigm, the alleged desertion of a first family is reinterpreted not as an isolated failure, but as the foundational act in a prolonged process of identity management. Proponents argue that the purported first sacrifice enabled subsequent reinventions, and that further instances of distance were merely more repeats of the same pattern. This interpretive approach, analyzing varied life occurrences as indicative of a unifying strategy, demonstrates the manner in which biographical narratives are frequently constructed. Humans are pattern-seeking beings. We create coherence in life by connecting disparate information into a unified narrative. The concern, however, is that coherence may lead to distortion when selective facts are highlighted and inconvenient ones are minimized or disregarded. The final depiction may be more indicative of interpretive bias than of objective truth. Advocates of the rumor construct explanatory frameworks wherein initial concealment accounts for subsequent estrangement, whereas opponents emphasize the complexity of familial relationships, noting that numerous individuals encounter rifts with relatives for reasons unrelated to concealed offspring, and that the inclination to interpret strategy in instances of ordinary interpersonal discord can lead to erroneous conclusions. The rumor's persistence is significantly influenced by the modern information landscape. The internet has established and perpetuates environments where supposition can be magnified and then reiterated, where unproven assertions can gather further details through repetition, and where anonymity can shield contributors from consequences. Under these circumstances, the narrative of the Duchess's alleged first daughter gained traction in online forums dedicated to royal analysis and critique. Community members have dedicated years to scrutinizing all accessible biographical data, juxtaposing timelines, examining images for potential familial likeness, and exchanging alleged insider information and memories. A significant number of these shared tales are anonymous. They are frequently characterized as being from friends or acquaintances of the Giuliano family, or from those asserting closeness to the purported occurrences. Throughout the years, the evolving narrative has remarkably retained its primary outlines, despite variations and embellishments in details, an occurrence interpreted by some adherents as validation, while others perceive it as a byproduct of echo chamber dynamics. The echo chamber effect merits more elucidation, as it elucidates how consistency can emerge without independent verification. Online communities that engage with a specific narrative typically reiterate, enhance, and magnify its iterations. Later contributors frequently incorporate prior elements either knowingly or unknowingly, thus generating an illusion of diverse sources that actually stems from a finite set of original assertions. Consequently, a rumor may acquire an illusion of complexity and diversity, despite relying on a minimal evidential foundation. This technique is not exclusive to this particular narrative. It is a discernible characteristic of internet-fueled rumor dissemination in general. Users observing numerous postings with analogous features may justifiably deduce that such elements possess an independent origin, even if the similarities arise from repeated online dissemination rather than distinct sources. The online information environment provides technical and social advantages that enhance the persuasive influence of unconfirmed accounts, surpassing mere repetition. Photographs may be edited and juxtaposed to suggest similarity. Metadata can be misinterpreted or excluded. Anonymous testimonials can be presented as insider information, and social media algorithms might selectively disseminate inflammatory content due to its ability to elicit participation. These mechanisms can convert a conjectural post into a viral narrative, and once a rumor disseminates extensively, it becomes challenging for sourcing guidelines or journalistic rectifications to completely eliminate its impact. Even when mainstream media conducts investigations and uncovers no corroborating evidence, such material may not reach equivalent audiences or evoke the same emotional impact as the first spectacular assertion. The resultant information ecology allows for the coexistence of truth and deception, both upheld by distinct social networks and validation mechanisms. Notwithstanding the detail and durability of these assertions, it is crucial to emphasize a fundamental counterpoint. No reliable proof has been publicly offered to corroborate the story. No birth certificate purportedly belonging to Meghan Markle's daughter has been presented. No verified documentation of a Las Vegas marriage or annulment associated with the frequently referenced names and dates has been disclosed. And no first-hand account from the alleged daughter, who, if born in the mid-1990s, would now be an adult, has surfaced publicly to corroborate the narrative. The Giuliano family has not issued any public declarations to substantiate the account, and the Duchess of Sussex has never confirmed nor addressed these particular charges. Her publicly released biography, as articulated in sanctioned interviews, documentaries, and published profiles, omits any reference to a Joe Giuliano, a Las Vegas wedding, or a firstborn kid. The lack of public validation is noteworthy, since the rumor, if accurate, would indicate a substantial deviation from the narrative the Duchess has presented. Over the past decade, Meghan's public persona has been constructed around themes of authenticity, humanitarian dedication, and transparency, her advocacy efforts, involvement in women's rights and racial equality, and her consistent emphasis on the significance of expressing one's truth have all contributed to this curated narrative. She has publicly articulated her personal challenges encompassing issues of race and the pressures associated with living under the British monarchy, frequently presenting her narrative through the lenses of vulnerability and honesty. Supporters perceive the discrepancy between public assertions and the idea of an intentionally hidden child as implausible and unjust. They regard the secret daughter accusation as a misogynistic and racially charged slander aimed at discrediting a woman who has challenged entrenched institutions. Critics conversely perceive the rumor as a credible but unverified re-examination of previous conduct. They contend that if the narrative were accurate, it would alter crucial aspects of the Duchess's public career and advocacy, presenting her accomplishments and public persona in a new perspective. Certain opponents argue that knowledge of a concealed daughter would expose a fundamental act of deception and purposeful silence that facilitated subsequent reinventions. In this constituency, rumors serve to elucidate perceived discrepancies in public declarations, fractured familial relationships, and what they consider as contrived public personas. The purported response of Prince Harry to the claimed disclosure of a first marriage and offspring is an aspect that often recurs in the narratives around the rumor. Many stories assert that Prince Harry was oblivious to this said chapter before to his marriage to Meghan. This assertion elevates the narrative's significance by transforming the purported deceit from a personal act into an intimate betrayal. The depiction of a speechless or misled husband uncovering a hidden first family has demonstrated significant rhetorical potency. It converts a biographical rumor into a narrative centered on trust and betrayal within one of the most scrutinized marriages in contemporary public life. However similar to other aspects of the narrative, there is no substantiated evidence suggesting that Prince Harry has faced such a revelation, nor has he publicly acknowledged or been documented addressing any such finding in verifiable sources. Speculative narratives on a royal consort's response are especially impactful since they connect personal history to institutional ramifications. Critics contend that if a spouse were genuinely oblivious of a previous marriage and offspring, the dynamics of the relationship would inevitably change, raising concerns around judgment and transparency. Proponents of Meghan argue that marriages typically encompass a degree of privacy regarding prior errors or traumas, asserting that publicly addressing every adolescent indiscretion is neither essential nor beneficial to a successful relationship. The lack of any verified public statement from Prince Harry concerning this rumor renders the issue unresolved. Without credible evidence, assertions on his prior awareness remain conjectural and unsubstantiated. The rumor exemplifies the contentious nature of celebrity biographies, the influence of gendered and racialized discourses in fostering harmful speculation, and the capacity of contemporary media ecosystems where mainstream outlets, partisan blogs, and anonymous social media converge to produce narratives that endure despite insufficient evidence. The narrative resonates due to culturally pertinent themes such as ambition, identity, transformation, familial estrangement, the ethics of public truth-telling, and the tension between private and public existence. These themes elucidate why the rumor has attracted attention despite the absence of evidence. The authenticity of the rumor is contested due to various specific inquiries elucidating the presence of both proponents and opponents. Does the missing year merely signify an early adulthood that is hardly documented for many reasons? Numerous individuals, particularly those in the public eye, possess clandestine and unrecorded narratives that only attract scrutiny upon further examination. Are the charges regarding sealed annulments in Las Vegas a fabrication, a misunderstanding of judicial privacy protocols, or a legal barrier designed to obscure essential information? Nevada courts may seal documents, but only under exceptional circumstances and when specific harms are demonstrated. Ultimately, does Meghan Markle's silence, the reported members of the Giuliano family's silence, and any alleged daughter's silence suggest that the narrative is fabricated or that the family has concealed a secret for decades? These inquiries are significant and can alone be addressed with substantiated evidence. Accountable journalism and historical analysis employ verification techniques to validate or refute such claims. Certified court documents, official birth or marriage certificates, medical records, school enrollments, or credible contemporaneous witness accounts that can be independently verified serve as effective sources of corroboration. Triangulation enhances credibility when multiple independent sources with diverse information access concur on the same facts. In the absence of these sources, speculative reconstruction remains only conjectural. Journalists and historians ought to classify enduring yet unsubstantiated rumors as contested and refrain from presenting them as verified without substantiation. In the absence of confirmed evidence, the rumor is likely to endure. It underscores a significant concern in the 21st century public domain. Rumors and speculation can compete with official biographies in the absence of a conclusive record. For individuals of notable public importance, history transforms into a contested repository where access, interpretation, and revelation can generate conflicting narratives. The Duchess of Sussex has deliberately curated and influenced her narrative, transitioning from a performer to a senior royal, and now to a global media figure and public personality. She has performed interviews, generated publicity, and issued public statements regarding her life. The speculation over a concealed daughter is an aspect of her life that by its inherent nature and claims is likely to persist as a mystery unless credible evidence or first-hand accounts emerge. Opacity. Whether deliberate or stemming from privacy concerns is sufficient to arouse the interest and skepticism of a global audience in pursuit of comprehensiveness and transparency. Consequently, the scenario exemplifies the conflict between public interest and private information. The personal lives of public personalities are simultaneously private and public, necessitating scrutiny of chronological gaps. The Internet and contemporary media amplify curiosity, occasionally transforming it into rumor. The alleged narrative of obscuration and transformation encompasses an initial marriage, a progeny, a confidential annulment, and parental custody. Recurring components possess sufficient rhetorical significance to persist as a ghost story within the official biography. Facts must be verified to address inquiries regarding rumors. If court documents or an alleged daughter presented a verified on-the-record account, the tale would transition from speculation to historical fact and could alter public image of the Duchess's early life. If independent investigations of public records and credible queries by reputable journalists do not uncover supporting proof and the primary players keep mute, the rumor's credibility will undoubtedly diminish. Neither result has occurred thus far. An incomplete storyline parallels Meghan Markle's widely acknowledged life biography. This pending status impacts multiple claims. In contemporary public discourse, the lack of evidence may be interpreted as an indication of hiding or as a typical result of inherent privacy. It demonstrates how the dissemination of online rumors may fabricate an appearance of credibility via incessant reiteration. It illustrates the ethical dilemmas when pervasive utterances encroach upon the privacy of those who may never reply. Speculation also encompasses legal and societal matters. Public figures may initiate legal action for defamation or issue cease and desist orders when untrue statements result in harm. Legal action can halt falsehoods, but may exacerbate rumors by increasing visibility. Proving falsehood and malice in private affairs can be challenging in numerous jurisdictions. Strategic, personal, and reputational considerations dictate the decision to litigate, disregard, or selectively rectify inaccurate narratives. The narrative of Meghan Markle's alleged first daughter remains unverified until further information. It persists as a concurrent narrative to her official biography, captivating the public's imagination by addressing an absence. The ability of documentation or testimony to bridge that gap remains questionable. The charge illustrates how easily contradictory narratives may obscure a life subjected to intense public examination, and how they may endure in the absence of substantial evidence. In the absence of additional evidence, The rumor will endure as an unresolved and contentious aspect of the public examination of a notable contemporary figure. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for the time being.